Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have the latest on the wintry weather we do have at the moment and that will continue on and off over the course of the next 5 days. Now we've got areas of rain and snow moving in at the moment. We'll have a look at these in detail and look at the weather warnings as we do have a widespread yellow warning issued for snow and ice. Run through the UKV, have a look at the various precipitation charts and temperatures for the risk of cold and potentially snowy conditions in places over the coming 5 days. I must emphasise it's going to be nothing as severe as what we have seen so far this week. Just wintry showers and snow perhaps settling over the higher ground again. Nothing that severe. And then we'll have a look at the longer range with the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles to see what is in store for the rest of the month, as there is a lot of different scenarios that could still be at play. We don't think it's going to be completely bitterly cold for the rest of the month, but it does look likely we will see colder snaps at times and quite potent cold snaps at times. But we also could see some quite mild and wet and windy weather with westerly winds perhaps prevailing as well. And there are even signs perhaps in the far long range towards the middle to end of the month. High pressure could take more of an appearance, and that could be pretty warm and dry as we head towards the end of the month. So perhaps signs of a bit of a change coming. But of course we'll explore that later in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if you start on the live radar, you can see we've got this area of precipitation moving in at the moment. Now it is a warm front, therefore behind it we do have much milder air. So if you are not liking the wintry weather we have had recently and you are in some of these higher routes, we have seen a lot of snowfall. It is likely through this afternoon and this evening you will see further snow. However, by the morning, most areas will be in milder air, temperatures above freezing, and any snow that has fallen from this will continue to melt, and most areas tomorrow, especially further southwards and westwards, could see temperatures into the double digits. So any snow that we do have still on the ground at the moment and overnight tonight will likely melt through tomorrow, especially with that strong March sunshine. Now I've seen some images from areas in that amber warning zone through northern England for the snow on Thursday and Friday. I saw some images of 30 centimetres of snow at around 8-9 a.m. in the morning, and by around 3 p.m. in the afternoon we still got the sunshine out. Pretty much all had melted. Just an example for how strong that March sunshine is. And I've also seen some data saying that areas at the moment have sort of 8 to 10 times the amount of solar energy hitting the ground through pure sunshine than we do get in December. So it just shows you the power of the sun through March. Even though the air mass is bitterly cold, the power of the sun really is limiting any precipitation and the extent that it can settle and remain there for more than just sort of temporary accumulations. So snow will continue again, highest routes through parts of Wales at the moment, through those higher routes of northern England, Northern Ireland as well. But as I said, on its back edge, it will be all turning to rain as that milder air does move in. Elsewhere to low-lying areas where it will just be rainy, it'll be a bit wet through this afternoon, or the rest of this afternoon and this evening, before it should clear and be a little bit drier through tomorrow. Now, to put on those temperatures at around 2 p.m, you can see it is cold over those higher routes, so you still have quite a chilly air mass ahead of the weather front. Many areas are widely sort of 5 to 7 degrees today, below average temperatures with pretty chilly wind chill out there, making it feel pretty cold. But you can see to the far southwest of England and southern parts of the Republic of Ireland, you can see all these thicker yellows, temperatures in the double digits, moving in a much milder air mass that will be prevailing through Sunday, but it is looking likely it will turn a lot colder once again into Monday and Tuesday, as we'll see in a minute. Now, if you put on the weather warnings, we do have a weather warning through Saturday into Sunday. Starts from 6 p.m. this evening until 6 a.m. tomorrow for all parts of northern England into Scotland. I do suspect, even though this does cover pretty much a whole area, I do suspect really the only risk of significant snowfall will be parts of the higher routes. You can see it has been updated this morning. Parts of northwest England have been removed from the warning where accumulating snow is not expected, and the start time has been delayed to the early evening. Again, if we look at the details, the bulk of the snow accumulations will be likely confined to elevations above 200 metres. Quite a few areas here are above 200 metres, but you can see it going to more coastal areas like Newcastle. Not really expecting snow there. Maybe some falling snow in the first couple of hours, but nothing really accumulating at all. So a lot of this yellow warning, I don't actually think we'll see any actual issues from the snow, but perhaps some falling snow for a time. But above 200 metres, 1 to 3 centimetres is possible, whereas 5 to 10 centimetres of snow is possible above 400 metres. And of course, over these routes at the moment, we probably still have a few centimetres in places, especially on grassy surfaces, so it could be another dump of snow in some places. Again, good for some of the higher routes of Scotland that has had pretty weak snow cover the past month or so, but again, if you're looking for to stop this disruption, then it's not particularly good. However, it does say here snow is likely to turn to rain before it clears. So hopefully by the morning, at least sort of roads and things like that should be clear through the higher routes when it turns to rain. Bringing the onset of thaw, this transition, there could be a brief spell of freezing rain, mainly over higher ground. Thaw is less likely across the northern half of Scotland, with lying snow remaining through Sunday. So the far north of Scotland may remain in that cold air through Sunday, but most areas will be in that milder air mass as we head into Sunday. So if we do now have a look at the UKV, we'll be able to see this in pretty decent detail with what is going on, which is going on at the moment. So you can see the precipitation moving in again. Been very slow progress this through today, and you can see it does turn to snow over the higher routes, perhaps widely to even low-lying areas for a time through this evening, but really only confined to higher routes, actually accumulating snow before it all does turn to rain. Again, the highest risk probably is through Scotland here, where we hang on to that cold air even into Sunday, but for many into Sunday it will be turning milder, and it will be also pretty dry, at least through the morning, before showers do start to push in through the afternoon, especially in northern and western areas, and they'll be going widely very unsettled through Sunday evening overnight as a big area of low pressure moves in. Again, most of this will be rain as it is in a much milder sector, and that will also mean the precipitation will probably be very heavy as well, with quite a warm air mass fueling these areas of precipitation. Perhaps some snow over the far north of Scotland in the higher ground. As we head through Monday, bitterly cold air does start to move back in. It could undercut this precipitation band, and we could see some snow through Scotland, maybe northern England, and even as it spreads southwards, perhaps through the Midlands, and even into the south, potentially there, through the early hours of Tuesday, and bitterly cold air spreads back in, and we could see widespread winteriness once again, widespread heavy snow showers. However, again, not expecting really any major accumulations apart from higher routes, maybe temporary few centimetres overnight, but again, not expecting anything too much, but you might see brief whiteout conditions at times through Tuesday. However, as we head into Wednesday, things will start to die down as it is a temporary colder spell, only lasting sort of 24 to 48 hours. Will be quite a harsh frost into Wednesday morning, but a weather front approaches, again, similar to the event we have right now, with snow in its leading edge, mainly over the higher ground. Could be some quite significant snow temporarily before it all does start to turn back to rain as very mild air moves in. Again, we can see this well emphasised on the upper air temperatures, cold at the moment, milder air moving in over the course of this evening into tomorrow. Pretty mild, pretty much for all areas apart from the far north of Scotland may hang on to some colder air. Eventually, very warm, milder air is in, a good 5 to 10 degrees above average before we plunge back 5 to 10 degrees below average through Tuesday into Wednesday. Minus 10 degrees at N50 HPA comes in. Again, seeing these conditions in the middle of winter, we'd be widespread ice days, freezing cold conditions, but of course, being into March, receiving the temperatures in a minute, it will only really be around 5 or 6 degrees. Again, feeling cold, but nothing too bitterly cold as it is so late in the winter. As we head into Thursday, though, you see a big mild sector moves in, again introducing much milder air. So we do put on those max temperatures. You can see early this morning, widely sort of -2 to -6 degrees, even colder where we still have snow cover. Really freezing cold to wake up this morning. But through this afternoon, with that strong sunshine ahead of that weather front, many areas are sort of 4 to 7 degrees, especially further eastwards. And then, of course, the much milder air moving into the south and west. You can see where we still have snow cover and over the higher ground, still hovering really around freezing. And that will continue through this evening, before eventually milder air does sweep in. And for most, around lunchtime tomorrow, we'll be getting into the double digits, 10 to 12 degrees, a pretty mild day, apart from perhaps the far north of Scotland. Beyond that, as we head into Monday, another generally very mild day before cold air spreads back into Scotland, and for all areas as we head into Tuesday, overnight frost for many areas in the north and the west, and then Tuesday afternoon, going to be a pretty chilly day, perhaps 7 or 8 degrees in the far southeast, but areas further north and westwards struggling much above 3, 4, 5 degrees and even colder over the higher ground. Finally, into Wednesday, a harsh overnight frost for all areas, widely -2 to -6 degrees. Again, cities may only get down to maybe freezing or -1, but that is pretty cold for March. And then into Wednesday during the day, maybe only 4 to 6 degrees before that big weather front moves in. Temporary snow before turning much milder into Thursday. So it could be pretty cold there through Monday evening all the way to the early hours of Thursday. So another good 2, maybe 3-day little cold spell next week. Widespread winteriness perhaps on Tuesday and Wednesday in the form of showers. Nothing too significant, and then maybe a bit of frontal snowfall on the leading edge as we head through Wednesday into Thursday. So if we do now have a look at the longer range, see what that is showing over the course of the next few weeks, you can see the very cold air is still just to our north, but a southwesterly flow is moving in. As this low clears, we go back into that bitterly cold air in from the north. -10 isotherm sweeps in. Very cold. Again, you look at the temperature deviation, extremely cold, 10 degrees below average for many. The potential equivalent temperature just showing you how cold that air is and where it's originating from. And then eventually that does clear. We see southwesterly winds push in, and then we get a bit of uncertainty as we head towards the end of next week. Some high pressure to our north, perhaps still signs of the sun stratospheric warming have some sort of effect, but seeing more low pressures move in, and we could see more brief little northerly winds or northeasterly winds there for a time. But as we head towards the end of the run, higher pressure does try to build in with a generally warm air mass. You can see temperatures maybe into the mid to high teens there, and dare I say, maybe even an isolated 20 degrees. If we actually have a look at the United Kingdom look there, you can see back, if we go into that Sunday, you can see mid-teens there. And again, locally, could be a few degrees higher. Wouldn't be surprised to be getting up to 17, 18 degrees there. And again, if that built in for a few days, maybe even an isolated 20 degrees, as I said. Now, if we have a look at the EGM, see how that does compare. Again, northerly winds coming in next week, really quite cold and unsettled. So it could be some quite wild conditions for a couple of days next week with cold, heavy snow showers around before eventually southwesterly winds pull in. But as we head towards day 10, high pressure actually builds to our north, and as I said, could see more of these brief colder spells. Northeasterly winds come in, nothing amazingly cold, but pretty chilly, down to the -5 at N50 HPA, would be overnight frosts, and temperatures generally below average in the day, and quite a cold wind chill out there. So nothing bitterly cold, but would be snow over higher ground, and feeling generally pretty cold for the time of year. If you compare to the ECMWF, see what that is showing. Again, southwesterly winds moving in, a bitterly cold northerly wind through Tuesday, Wednesday, for waning into Thursday. And then eventually we do see that high pressure try to build to our north, but not too successful. Still little pockets of high pressure trying to build in and trying to pull more cold northerly winds in. So I definitely do think there is scope through the rest of the month for colder spells, colder snaps, similar to what we see next week. But I don't think it's going to be sustained, and the more we head through the month, the reduced likelihood of anything really significant at all as the sun strength gets even stronger. Daylight hours get longer, and of course the air mass to our north is now significantly reducing every single day before we get to maybe June time, when there is pretty much no cold air remaining as we do head into summer. Now, after you finish by just having a look at the ensembles, latest GFS ensembles, you can see it's cold at the moment, but turning much milder through the next couple of days in London, a good few degrees above average, and then we plunge much colder than average next week for maybe 2 or 3 days. Then we return to around average, and then sort of hovering around average. There are a lot of runs above and below as well. Some quite cold runs appearing, but some quite milder runs appearing. And again, even those getting up to sort of 5 degrees at N50 HPA, if you see drier weather with higher pressure, this time of year you can see, as I said, temperatures in those mid to high teens like that GFS operation run is showing right in the extended range. Again, there is quite a bit of precipitation, but not absolute washout conditions, so still a bit of uncertainty exactly what is happening with this, but I do suspect there will be some rain around continuing over the coming weeks with low pressure moving in, and of course some snow with some of those chillier air masses. If you look at the dew points, you can see those air masses oscillating. -5 dew points next week, but rising back towards +5 to maybe even +10, so much milder conditions. And you look at the 2 meter temperatures really up and down. Next week could be sort of 4 or 5 degrees for a few days, before returning back to the low double digits. And we will be on a slow trend, just generally up towards temperatures towards the mid-teens as we progress through autumn, and eventually by the time we get to June time, only in about sort of 8 to 10 weeks time will we start thinking about June at the start of meteorological summer. Those temperatures, average temperatures, will start to get towards the high teens, even getting towards the low 20s as we head in towards the latter part of June. And remember, it's only sort of 8 to 10 weeks away before we start thinking about the start of summer. So we are not too far away from warmer, perhaps drier conditions as well. And I know a lot of people watching this probably have enjoyed the winter, have enjoyed a bit of snow around, but are looking forward to some more sunshine and some warmer conditions in general. Finally, we have a look at the ECMWF, see what that is showing. Again, very similar to the GFS. Cold at the moment, slightly milder next week, towards the weekend and start of Monday, and then much colder Tuesday to Thursday before trending average for the rest of the month. But of course, it's a lot of oscillating there, so it will be colder and warmer spells within that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay safe out there in the cold weather we're going to be seeing over the course of the next week or so. There will be some quite weird, horrible conditions next week with some real big blustery snow showers around in that north to northwesterly wind. Could be quite wild out there for a time, but again, we're not expecting too much disruption as it's getting quite late in the year. But it could be some real bizarre conditions next week. It could be sunny 1 minute, feeling quite warm, to blizzards the next minute, only lasting maybe 5 or 10 minutes. So we'll have to see what happens, but there will be very oscillating temperatures as well. Temperatures some of these days will be 13, 14 degrees, other days 4 or 5 with a significant wind chill and harsh overnight frosts. So make sure you keep an eye on the forecast. Again, weather apps are not the best, but they'll be quite useful in this sort of scenario just to know what the general conditions will be for the day. So do make sure you are up to date with what's happening every single day, as it is going to be changing and chopping and changing quite a bit over the next sort of 5 days or so. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.